be in the Georgian military watch duty, with a buddy in the middle of a semi-wooded near the Russian border and Abkhazian state that is also a mountain. I have the high ground. Have crappy AK-74 middle of the night. Just chatting with the buddy. Hear a sound coming like buzzing and gargling. Look down from the hill. Nothing there, or whatever that a thing was, is hiding behind a tree. Ask the buddy what it might be. He thinks it is an animal, but we don't care. We have guns, see. Something moving. It is a bush. Bush is moving towards us. Not a ghillie suit. A big bush like 4 meters. We warn it. We shoot a warning shot in the ground. And air. We are screaming at this point. We start to shoot the bush. Nothing happens. When it got closer, I saw these sticks under it, like it was using its branches to walk towards us. I had 57 bullets on me after the first mag was gone. I ran back. So did my buddy. We are running to the base on a hilly area. Reach base, tells Sergeant what happened. After giving us a disappointed look, goes outside with both of us. The bush is still moving towards the fucking base. I saw it, my buddy saw it, fucking Sergeant saw it. Thinks it is a ghillie suit. Shoots it with a better aim. Nothing, it still comes towards us. Slowly goes closer to the bush. He sees it, confirms it is a moving bush, tells us to go back to the base and get the others. 2 more people come out. 5 people now watching a fucking bush move. One guy says, it is a new thing made by the Russians to fuck with us. Go back to base and lock every building up. 2 guys are on guard. Sergeant is making a call and not getting believed. The bush fucking stops outside of the base. Go to inspect it. It has stopped moving. It is a normal bush now. It is now 6 o'clock. The sun is rising. Sergeant goes to look at the bush, sees it is a normal bush. Fucking cuts the bush with a hatchet, pours motor oil to its stomp burns the bush, get home. Make this post. I am scared of bushes. Now, I was a berry bush, if it makes a difference.
First time posting in this type of threads. Sharing a maybe not so spooky, but it was really unsettling back then. Camping with family on a rather secluded beach near San Quentin in Ensenada. There's this dormant volcano nearby. Dad suggests we should check out the crater, being as adventurous as him. I agree to tag along, hop on his old Jeep and get on a road we believe leads up the volcano. It's mid-November, so by 5 or 6 in the afternoon, it was already getting dark, been driving about an hour, and not really seeing the peak getting closer, getting bummed. Instead, the road is getting narrower, getting worried. It's already around 7:30, and it's already pitch dark. Worse is, we finally find the end of the road. Only rocks and mostly bushes around. At least the road with a clear vehicle tracks ahead. The path is fairly flat and it seems to go up. Feel of adventure and common sense are conflicting. We stop to discuss the predicament we're in at the moment. Suddenly something breaks the monotony of the trip. Something rises up from among the bushes to our right. A single red glowing eye orb comes up as if startled by the car's engine. Me and my dad are silent, trying to figure out what sort of wildlife we stumbled upon. Options narrow when I realise the size of this thing, or rather its height from my seat. I could see it almost at eye level, so maybe 1.50 metre, or like 5 feet still silent. Thing still staring at us. Suddenly, it moves closer, as if it took a step forward. My dad shifts gears to reverse sensing. This thing might actually not be wildlife. The noise of the shifting gears seems to startle the creature, and so it makes its exit motherfucker starts bouncing, silently and floaty, as if the thing was made of paper still looking at us. Every bounce going higher until on its last one it flies off out of sight. Needless to say, we book it back to camp to this day. I'm not sure what we saw.
Be me, Chinese food delivery guy in Pennsylvania, not getting more specific. Most I'll say is I don't live close to any metropolitan area worth noting, thus a lot of my drives along, alone, and smelly. Can't even eat Chinese food anymore so because the smell has become so embedded in my nose/brain that I heave if I put that shit in my mouth. Like eating something to the point where you're sick of it, but someone pays you to keep eating. So you do. A few drives of mine stand out above the rest. I'll share a short one. Roll up to restaurant for next pickup of the night. 10 bags. Jesus Christ, what? Busy night, I guess. Lots of orders? Nope, just one. The bagging lady chimes in. Excuse me, what? One person ordered 10 bags of Chinese food. Bill is massive, easily floating $500 range. Address is one I've never seen before and it's far. Kinda excited because this should be one hell of a tip. Begin driving and taking in the details in case this dude orders again in the future. Place is remote as fuck. Every couple of minutes some sort of key road feature becomes absent due to how far I'm going. First the sidewalks stop running alongside the roads, then the street lamps, then the lines on the road. Soon I begin hitting random interim gravel beds. Jesus Christ, this won't be worth it if I snap my fucking axle. Arrive at address and it's literally just a stop in the road. No driveway, no sign, not even a fucking mailbox. Thinking GPS fucked up monumentally, call the guy to clarify the address. Gonna be mega pissed if I drove out here into Innawoods just to get murdered. No answer. Fuck, begin to dial restaurant to confirm address sent to me, but before I can finish I'm stunned. Another car, oncoming, headlights on, etc. WTF is another car doing all the way out here? It begins slowing down. Welp guys, drive by, it is. Nice knowing you all. Car stops right next to mine and he rolls his window down. It is then I realize he is a pizza delivery driver. He speaks as this. The exact same address I was sent to. Yeah, I guess, dude. They order pizza? Yeah, huge order. He's excited, likely for the same reason as me. Big tip and for big gay. It's then when someone comes out from the brush. Even bigger excuse me, what? Hey guys, food? This dude stutters. He's throwing me off big time. I don't feel like I'm going to be murdered, at least not quickly. I'd have preferred the drive-by. He's holding a flashlight but isn't pointing it at anything, just kind of off to the side. He's standing in a painfully bad posture, like visible scoliosis, the kind you can identify at a glance. Thank you for arriving first, he says as he snaps the flashlight directly at my face. Hey, cut that the fuck out, I snap in response. I don't enjoy 50 fucktillion lumens to the eyes. He snaps the light to the other driver's face. You lose, he says to him, but with absolutely no pause. WTF is going on here? Other driver and I look at each other with a mix of jittery fear and perplexion. Fuck this. In hindsight this was not the best move, but I was sick of this gangly guy's attitude. I get out of the car, and start unpacking the bags. He snaps the light to a spot on the road. Here please. Meth confirmed, we'll get him next time. He snaps the light back and forth to the other driver's face and the spot he wants the food. Man, what the absolute fuck is your problem? Pizza bro shouts, hustling now. I feel you, dude, I'm not enjoying this either. I finish unpacking my shit so I go to assist pizza bro. Creep shines light at me, don't help. He says with no pause and with his voice raised. Alright, sorry man, I didn't leave him, but I sat in my car and waited for him to finish, not leaving fellow delivery bro. During this downtime I get as good a look as I could get at this mong. Tall, but shitty posture keeps his standing height at around 5 foot several inches. I imagine if he stood up straight he would have easily been 6 foot several inches, his posture was that bad. I'm rattled. Pizza bro has begun hustling and cussing under his breath and I'm on the verge of a panic attack. I begin texting my boss, saying I'm done, I'm taking the night off after this and going home. Not up for debate. When I look up, the pizza bro is staring wide eyes, like his eyelids were completely retracted, staring in my direction. Then I notice gangly dude is standing right next to my driver's side window now. FFS, I'm done, so done. I'm holding back tears at this surprise because I didn't notice him move at all, didn't hear him, see him, nothing. Window, he says sharply. I roll it down. Yeah, that was fucking retarded, I know. Gangly guy slips an envelope through the window before it has even finished opening. What I'll see next I will never forget. He drops the envelope into my car and heave/scuttles his way over to Pizza Brother's car, stopping a few feet in front of him, light in his face. This fucker was running a beanbag race with no beanbag. That's perhaps the most precise way to describe how this fuck moved across the road. A rapid undulation that propelled him forwards. I can almost hear the audible pop that marked the end of my stress tolerance, the sound before people snap and do psychotic things. That's it, I can't take this, I'm fucking out. I shift into drive, I floor it, I don't know where I am going, but if hell had an exit I was going to find it. I'm sorry pizza bro, I can't take this shit anymore. It's a good 15 minutes of driving, it is then I realize I didn't count the total. It is also then I realize I don't give any fucks. I set GPS for home, don't stop back at Chink restaurant, gunning it now, barely slowing down for turns. I get home, I get inside, I kill half a handle of whiskey, and go to sleep. For a while I was too nervous to go anywhere and too nervous to go on deliveries. This was not helped by the fact that a mere 3 days later, a missing person case was opened for a pizza delivery driver one town over. The search concluded that he had skid off the road and hit a tree because his car was found essentially wrapped around a tree. There were photos of the crash site from many angles. No sign of him, just the vehicle. The most fucked up thing, the bags from the food we delivered were in some of the shots and visibly torn into.
Give me some time with this. I am typing it as I post it and am going strictly by memory. I've lived in a pretty secluded area of Vermont all my life. There is a giant opening big enough for a field and 3 houses, each with a sizable yard front and back, but other than that there is woodland all around. It probably doesn't count too much, because there is a road that runs just quite close, but it is far enough away that you can't hear sirens when they go by. My house is in the middle of 2 hills, with an open field right next to it and dense woods around both the field and the house. The field gets fairly long, however, sometimes to the point where it is above your head. Adjacent to this field, separated by a dense tree line and at the bottom of a hill, there is another field, which rarely gets cut, and in which grow some pine trees. Around that field, however, is a huge expanse of woods, approximately 30 miles 230 degrees around. There is a creek running around it, and a path leading through it. My story is from a good few years ago, when I was around 8 years old. My father still lived with me and my mother, and I used to take walks with him whenever weather permitted. We usually walked around the 2 fields, and we created and cleared paths whenever we could. We also dug some trenches for water to travel through so that the paths did not flood too heavily. One day, me and my father were doing just that, clearing paths and clearing out a trench we had created just 3 weeks prior of leaves and sticks that were clogging it. It was getting rather dark, but we both had lanterns with us, so we could still get some work done. Eventually, my father got tired and asked if I wanted to stop for the day. I, as a youngling back then, told him I could keep going for a while more. He then told me that he was going to journey back and get some coffee and dinner, and asked if I wanted to come. I rejected, as I could get more done if I stayed. This was not too uncommon for me, as I tended to wander off in my spare time. We had also taken our beagle with us, who tended to either wander around or stay near me, but who only barked if she saw something, which in a sense comforted me, because she would have been able to alert me if something was near. Even so, it was dark, and there tend to be bears and coyotes prowling around, so I tried to work quickly so I could finish what I wanted to before I got too nervous. An hour or so passed, and I was just about done as my dog started barking. Turning toward her to see where she was barking, I noticed she was turned toward the creek. As I looked to where she was barking, I saw nothing. This was fairly abnormal, as every time she barked, it was at something in plain enough sight that I would be able to see it. So I was a bit uneasy. When I finished what I was doing, I turned to walk home. Around this time, I heard a low snarl behind me, too low to be a coyote or my dog, and too dog-like to be a bear. I of course checked my dog first, and noticed her cowering away, but not making a noise. Looking to see what she was cowering from, I noticed a black mass, akin to a giant dog, think Saint Bernard but bigger, across the creek. Noping the fuck out of there, I left my lantern and tools behind and ran home as fast as I could, with my dog running beside me. As soon as I got home, I ran inside and attempted to find my parents. When I did, I launched myself near them and told them what happened. I don't think they believed me, as in the past I tended to make up stories about how I battled raccoons and wolves, but they comforted me anyways. While I was in bed, I heard a rustling in the tree line right outside my house. It may have just been the wind, but I heard underbrush cracking, so I think something was moving around. The next day, my father asked if I wanted to finish clearing the paths, as there was a bit left to do that I couldn't have done myself. I was a bit hesitant, but I agreed, thinking I would be safe with him with me. I however did not want my dog to come with us. When he told me to get my tools, I told him I had left them down where I was. He wasn't very happy about that. Walking down, I was extremely alert, looking around as much as I could. There was no evidence that anything large was anywhere near the path, and the path itself was only big enough for a single file line, but I was still skeptical. When we reached the location where my tools were, we noticed quite quickly that my lantern was completely destroyed, something which my father was furious about as it had cost at least $100. My tools were fine, however, so he wasn't as upset as he could have been. Working for the next few hours, we finished everything and more, leaving the next few months open to doing whatever so long as there is no damage from heavy rainfall or snow. Before we headed back, nature called for my father, and he wandered out of sight. He must have gone a ways away, because it took him several minutes to go and come back, but when he did he was running. Urging me to grab my tools and run, he did the same. Concerned as all hell, I asked him what was wrong. He didn't answer me, and instead looked around anxiously. I did the same. As soon as we were packed up, we ran. We were a good 5 miles away from home, however, so we were running a while. As we were running, I kept hearing things break behind us. Not like the occasional twig snap, I mean full-on terrifying lost shit. When I looked to see what was doing it, I nearly froze in fear. What I saw was as large as the mass I saw the night before, and it may well have been. However, because it was lighter out, I could discern its details. It was almost completely black, with dark red patches covering it randomly. Its face was akin to a dog's, and the rest of it was like a bear, the paws especially. When it picked them up they looked like knives. Its ears were long and stood up. I did not see its teeth. As we neared home, the sound of breaking ceased, though we did not slow down by any means. When we got into the house, my father locked all the doors and collapsed onto the couch from exhaustion. I did the same, but I recovered more quickly, being younger and a bit more fit. As I looked out the window, I did not see the creature, but I was still afraid of the woods, and was for the next few days. My father was too, eventually putting up a steel fence around the perimeter of the tree line, and a gate at the entrance to the path which he locked. My mother was not happy at all about this, but it gave me and my father some comfort, and so her opposition went away quickly. Over the next few weeks, my fear of the woods subsided. My father, however, was still afraid, and over the next few months I kept hearing him talk about not having enough money to keep paying for the house and wanting us to move. I however believe he wanted to move because he was still afraid. Eventually, he left, and he and my mother got a divorce. He occasionally returned to the house to check the fence and the lock on the gate, but my mother quickly got tired of this and got a restraining order against him. I haven't seen nor heard of the creature since the night we ran from it, but recently I have started to hear the fence creak, so I am starting to feel fear of it again.
Wife asks me to go camping. Hate the idea. She is excited. Though, sure, why not? We drive to a secluded bit of land her grandparents own, spend hours setting up the tent and campsite. We get ready. Go hiking. It rains a little. We get a little wet. We double back, get back, just as it gets dark. Make a fire. Wife is getting a little low energy. We eat and talk for a while. Decide to go to sleep, inflatable mattress. Double sleeping bag. We get in together. She is shivering. Ask if she is okay. I'm fine. She keeps shivering. I don't feel good. You said you were fine. I don't want to ruin our trip, oh boy. We get to go home. Feel her face. She's pretty hot. Well, it won't be any fun if you don't feel well. I think you may have a fever. I guess, let's go home. Get up and get her to the car, start it, and turn on the heats. Start packing up our stuff and the tent deflating the mattress. The horn beeps. I run out and over to the car. She says there was someone around. Our camp said they were crawling. As soon as she saw them move and was sure it was someone, she beeped the horn. Can tell she is upset. Don't believe her. Though tell her to relax and go back to packing. Gather everything outside the tent, step back in to roll up the mattress and hear her yell. My name sounded like it came from the woods. Why is she outside the car? Here, help, X, my leg is bleeding. Rush out. Glance at the car. She is asleep in the seat, wave of fear. Hear something yell again, help me. Still sounded like her, but somewhat off too raspy and deep. Take down the tent. Just roll it up, shove it in the car. Left a few things, got the fuck out of there. Driving a little fast, wake wife up, and have her put her seatbelt on. Get home and ask her to tell me what she saw. She said it was white. Thought it was a naked person crawling behind some trees. She saw them stand up against the tree, and she beeped the horn and they dropped down and ran. Just woke up. I talked to my wife about it as we were going to bed last night. I had never told her what I heard and had just been dodging going camping again when she brought it up. I'm glad we talked though, because she was beginning to doubt what she had seen being sick that night. After telling her what I heard, she told me a pretty interesting story from when she was a kid staying at her grandparents'. I'll do my best to relay it. Shouldn't have slept on it. She was young, 10 or so. She was at her grandparents' house, is on a hill about near where we camped. We saw it on our hike. Her brother, a cousin, and her were playing around the edge of the woods, yelling and listening to their echoes. Hear a reply. Obviously not an echo, sounded like their cousin's older sibling. Sibling wasn't there at the time, sounded so much like them. They were convinced they were just a little ways into the woods. Voices saying something like, "Guys, come here. I found something." They follow it into the woods. Keeps getting further away, finally comes to a creek. They know they're not allowed to be around, and Sass, cross voice, is on the other side saying something, "Hurry, it's just over here." They follow it into the woods. Keeps getting further away. Finally comes to a creek. They know they're not allowed to be around. Cross voice is on the other side saying something. "Hurry, it's just over here." Her brother and cousin are walking the creek, trying to find a place to cross. Wife, being a puss bag, runs back and tells on them. Grandpa spanks the three of them for even going that far into the woods, unattended. They were upset they couldn't go play with her older cousin. She obviously never thought much of it being a kid at the time, but what happened to me certainly brought it back to mind. Actually makes me wonder if her grandparents knew something was up, or simply didn't want them playing in the woods for obvious reasons. Also, I'm really curious about this Goatman / Skinwalker / Fleshgate stuff. I don't come to /x/ very often, so I'm not sure what it is, but if it relates in any way, I'd like to find out more.
Lake Okeechobee, Florida, 7th largest body of fresh water in the United States. Fishermen used to and still end up pulling up large amounts of human remains, thought to be a burial ground, used by the Seminoles and other Native Americans. Hurricane of 1928, 2,500 dead after 8-foot storm surge from the lake wiped out nearby communities, all buried in a Mass grave lots of stories of hauntings nearby. 3 years ago, a few friends and I rent a boat to go fishing on the lake at night with calm waters, strolling the deck looking at the stars. Feel like I'm being watched. See movement out of the corner of my eye over the water. Oh boy, hope it's not a gator. See a human skull peeking out above the water. Lock eyes, eye sockets on each other. Immense set of dread sets. And scream at my buddies to wake up while running to draw the anchor and get the fuck out of there. Hear some splashing and almost have a heart attack while hoisting the anchor. Done rush to the helm full power to engines. Friends still asleep. Get out of area and coast around slowly while keeping an eye out so not to waste too much fuel. Morning. Friends wake up, Anon. Why are we 30 miles from where we anchored? I heard this is better fishing ground. I never told them since I don't think they'd believe me. I've never been so scared in my life. The strangest thing is that I had to fight this weird feeling of jumping into the water.
I have a story to tell you, but I beg you not to read it. Please, don't. I know it sounds stupid, but by the time you understand why, it will be too late. I know this will not deter many of you, but without this simple warning to ease my conscience, I may not be able to go through with this. And I desperately need to go through with this. Let me start at the beginning. I have an old friend, Joe, who I've known since grade school. I'm in my late 20s, so is he. He's been my best friend for at least half of that time. I'd say that we knew each other pretty well after all of that time. This may seem irrelevant and uninteresting, but I have to stress this: I knew him, and I knew him well. What he did was, it was nothing he ever could have done without some outside influence. On the night of Friday, January 23rd, I was driving to his apartment to pick him and his roommate up, as we made plans to go out, hit a couple of bars and generally have a good start to the weekend. When I arrived, there was a number of police cars and ambulances outside the complex. I was of course curious, as I, like many people, rarely see such sights. As I got closer, I noticed that there's a body covered in a bag in the street, surrounded by glass and no more than 5 feet from a badly dented car. I'm rather horrified, coming to the conclusion that someone was hit by a car and killed right outside the complex. As I finished gawking, I made my way inside and up the stairs to the 3rd floor. That's where my friend's apartment is, and that's where I found it wasn't a simple accident. The police were upstairs as well, talking to residents and taping off one of the apartments. My friend's apartment. Panicked, I asked one of the officers what had happened, why my friend's apartment was taped off. I told him I was supposed to be meeting them for drinks, and asked if they were okay. The officer told me that it appeared that Joe had butchered his roommate with a kitchen knife and thrown himself through the plate glass sliding door into the street below. I was a ghost, shaken so badly I could barely answer the simple questions the officer asked me upon finding that I knew the victims. My mind couldn't process it. I knew him. He'd never do such an atrocity. It didn't make sense. I made my way back to my car in silence, drove home as though on autopilot. I couldn't get the shock of it out of my head. My wife asked me what happened, and I explained to her. She was shocked as well, but she didn't know him like I did. I told her I needed a bit of time, and went to my room. She left me be. Lost, I found myself at my computer. I'm not really sure why I did it, but I found myself checking his email. I knew the passwords he commonly used, so it was hardly an issue to find the right one. I thought perhaps he had friends online who I needed to tell, or maybe I thought I'd find a window into what caused this. I don't really know. If I knew then what I know now, I would have never done what I did. I scrolled through his inbox, looking for familiar names. Joe, myself, and several friends kept in touch online, and I instantly recognized several of these names in the last few days. But the most recently opened email was what looked like a spam email with an attachment and no other information. Curiosity got the better of me, and I opened it. The file, it was a picture, named nothing but a seemingly random string of numbers. It was simply a man, seemingly normal at a glance. But the longer I stared at it, the more disturbed I became. He stood staring with a grin, sinister and unsettling, with eyes that were both vacant and focused at the same time. That terrible grin, it just seemed to widen the longer I stared, and for minutes I was fixated at that horrible face, eyes burning as they stared back at me with equal intensity. Finally I tore my gaze away to find the only other thing in the email, a single word. A word that I can't repeat. Not yet. I need to tell my story. I couldn't take the sight of it anymore. I had to close it. That face was still looking at me, I swore I could still feel his grinning stare. As I went to log out of his email and put that horrid thing out of my mind, I noticed the time it arrived, January 23rd, 5:35 p.m. We were supposed to meet at 6. He likely saw this less than a half hour before he died. For the next several days I tried to put it out of my mind. I attended my friend's funeral, I tried to go on with my life, but I kept feeling uneasy. Every time I closed my eyes I felt like someone was watching me. At night, I started to have unsettling nightmares. I couldn't remember much of them when I awoke, but they all had the same elements, that horrible grinning man, blood, violence, death. I couldn't get a good night's sleep. I was struggling at work. I kept feeling tense and on edge. I needed to know what was going on. It was hard to really know what to look for at first, all I had to go on was that image and the single word that accompanied it. Grinning Man is hardly an descriptive search, haunted grinning man or cursed grinning man wasn't really any better. Still, I did what I could with my limited resources. I actually found a reference to it, or what I thought was it, on a website dedicated to conspiracies and paranormal things and other things I'd normally dismiss as utter bullshit. Still, this wasn't natural, and I was willing to try to open my mind to any explanation, since this seemed to defy anything conventional. What I uncovered about this grinning man was that it was an image that seemed to circulate among image boards and forums a few years back. The article said the picture was harmless, if not a bit creepy, though I strongly disagree on the term a bit, but it seemed that something about it, when coupled with a keyword that was unknown, could trigger extreme psychotic bouts. Irritability, nightmares, and hallucinations. It seemed so utterly stupid, simple text and pixels causing such harm, and yet I was sitting there, realizing that I was experiencing those same nightmares. Irritability and hallucinations. And Joe obviously experienced the psychosis, evidenced by his sudden murder-suicide. I was stunned. I thought it had to be a joke, some kind of bizarre hoax, but I knew there was more to it than that. I knew what I was feeling, and I knew my friend. That picture, and that word, it had to be the key word. What triggers everything? Oh God, was this going to happen to me too? Was I going to kill my wife and then myself? I started to panic, but my rational mind won over. If it was just paranoia, hallucinations, those couldn't hurt me, right? They only had power if I gave them power. So I decided that I would end this, put it out of my mind, rationalize it away each time I felt it. That would be the end of it all. As much as my rational brain helped me through the day, it couldn't protect me at night. My dreams continued to degrade, ending in me waking in the middle of the night, cold sweats and heart pounding. I started taking sleeping pills, though I refused to tell my wife. I didn't want her to worry after all, though I know she could tell something was wrong with me. The pills did nothing though, in fact they seemed to make my dreams more vivid. I could remember everything when I awoke. Every horrible, bloody detail. That grinning, inhuman face. I found I started sleepwalking. The first night I woke curled in the bathtub. Then in the kitchen. 3 days later, on the porch, with a knife in my hand and the bloodied remains of our black lab at my feet. I can't even remember the next things that happened after that. I know I cleaned up our dog, hid him in a trash bag, said he ran off in the night and got lost. I was terrified, I had no idea what to do. I tried to medicate myself heavily, I locked up all the knives in the house. My wife knew there was something terribly wrong, but I refused to say anything. I don't even know if I could at the time. The only thing I can still remember clearly was the dreams. I was irate, easily provoked over the littlest of things. I thought it had to just be my nerves from all of this and a lack of sleep, but I remembered my friend. The website. I knew I was getting worse. The thing I remember most about the dreams, aside from that horrible grinning man, is the emotions. I felt each death that was inflicted in the dream like it was real. Like it was my own hand disemboweling my friends, my family, random strangers, against my own will. Like each death, each vision of terror he showed me, was not just a vision but my own work. Each horrible death in the dream made him grin a little wider. He wanted me to snap. He wanted me to become exactly what he was showing me. He wanted me to become him. So I come here to tell you this because I'm desperate. I need help. You see, I can't bear the thought of harming my wife, the woman I love most in this world. And yet I know it's inevitable. He's always there, watching and grinning, knowing I'm close to breaking, and nudging me ever closer to the edge. I know what he wants. I can't let him have that. But I don't know any other way out. So I'm reaching out to you, in hopes that he'll leave me alone. Maybe if you, the careless reader who I warned away, will give him what he wants, he'll let me be. I have to try. I don't know what else to do. I'm so sorry. I hope you can forgive a man for acting in desperation. Grinman.
Member of local militia. Not stereotypical fat, drunken rednecks, several ex/current mill, several ex/current cops, a lawyer, and a CEO of a small company who help bankroll the group, and about a dozen others who work in construction, IT, etc. I'm a school teacher, ex-cop. We do search and rescue for the local national forest, helped with rescue and relief efforts after a tornado destroyed a town in the next county, raise funds for charity, etc. Also volunteer with local Boy Scouts and 4-H group, teaching wilderness survival skills, marksmanship, etc. And taking them camping. Field exercise one summer, patrolling with blanks and getting ready for an up-for event. It's dark, we're all gearing up, and we hear gunshots a couple of miles away. Don't know who else is out here, but decide to postpone shooting a bunch of blanks so we don't scare any campers. Red distress flare goes up on the other side of the hill. Check CB and ham radio, nothing. Another flare, then more gunshots. We launch a green flare to signal that we see their distress flare and are coming to help, radio the sheriff that something is fucky, and swap gear. A couple guys put on reflective vests for search and rescue, and everybody swaps blanks for live rounds. One group stays at camp, another group jumps in a couple SUVs and drives down the road in the direction of the flares, and the rest of us set out on foot. We're thinking it might be a camper or hunter getting attacked by a bear or wolves and needing help. The gunshots seem panicked, not fired in threes to signal distress. None of us are in stealth mode, we've all got flashlights, chem lights, and reflective vests to provide as much visibility as possible. We hear a couple more gunshots and then it goes quiet. Base camp says they haven't seen any more flares. Detour around a sudden crevasse, everyone is loud to ensure nobody accidentally falls in or gets separated, and the guys in the lead are calling out to anyone that needs help. Suddenly, one of the guys yells, "Who's that?" We're all shining flashlights in the direction he's pointing, nobody sees anything. He insists he saw someone step behind a tree when he shined his flashlight that way. We call out, get no response. A couple guys go to investigate, don't find anyone. Just the shadows playing tricks on the kid. Continue toward where we think the flares came from, launch another green flare so base camp can compare our position with where the distress flares came from. We're close. Group in the cars can't get to us, road turned unexpectedly, they're heading back to camp. We all hear a generator off in the distance and shout if anyone needs help, wave our lights around. A few minutes later, we step into a clearing. Pickup with a small trailer attached, generator powering the trailer. Campfire that's mostly embers, a couple lawn chairs set up, one that's tipped over. Whoever was here dropped their food on the ground, plates and hot dogs scattered near each chair. Call out, get no response, trailer and truck are empty. Investigation reveals a bunch of 9mm brass around the campsite, more is inside the trailer, along with an empty Glock magazine. Looks like whoever was shooting started outside, then went inside, reloaded, and shot through the windows and walls. No gun, no people. Find an orange plastic flare gun and 2 spent shells next to a cell phone just outside the campsite, along with more 9mm brass. We spread out, calling out for anyone who needs help and searching the area. Base camp says sheriff is on his way. This is super creepy. Where the hell are these people and who or what were they shooting at? Suddenly hear who's there shouted on the other side of the campsite. One of the guys says he saw a really tall person step behind a tree. We investigate, don't find anyone. Decide to all leave the campsite so we don't contaminate any evidence more than we already have and wait for the sheriff. Flashlights off, just our chem lights glowing while we talk with each other about what the hell is going on. Hey, you see that? We all wait and a few seconds later there's a dim flash of blue in the trees. What is that? We don't see the blue flash again, but there's a dim, red glow high in the trees off to the right of where we saw it. Decide to investigate, somebody may be hurt, or it could be a fire. As we get closer, everyone starts feeling uneasy, like there's a pressure in the back of their head. I'm starting to feel nauseous, like I've got a bad migraine. Suddenly, we're all blinded by a beam of light coming from the tops of the trees. We shine our lights right back and yell for whoever it is to get the light out of our eyes. The light moves, suddenly darting to another tree about 30 yards away, still pointing at us. At this point, I'm thinking drone. The jumpy kid decides to be an idiot and takes a shot at the light. The light vanishes and while half of us are chewing his ass out, the other half, myself included, are still looking for the source of the light. Eyes still dazzled, even with my 200 lumen tactical light it's hard to make anything out. Suddenly hear something crash through the brush off to my right. Spin and catch what looks like a really tall person ducking behind the bushes. Hey. I give chase, Buddy runs after me. Right as I get to where I saw the person, it suddenly feels like somebody dumped ice water on me. I fall and can hear my buddy fall right behind me. I try to get back up, but I can't move or even talk. Next thing I know, I'm on my back with our medic shining his light in my eyes, slapping me on the cheek and asking if I'm okay. Apparently my buddy and I both passed out at the same time. Tell them what I saw, get told that everybody searched the area after we collapsed and found nothing. We're both sitting against a tree discussing what happened. Buddy didn't see anything and was just following me. Guy in charge decides we're staying put and not searching any further until the sheriff arrives. Sheriff is at base camp, some of our guys are going to lead him and a couple deputies to us. We launch a parachute illumination flare, turns the whole R into daylight for a few seconds and shows our position. Sheriff shows up 30 minutes later, impressive given the terrain and darkness. Sheriff and deputies check out the campsite, we tell them everything we experienced. Sheriff knows where the trail the campers drove in on meets the road, radios in for more deputies to join him. Sheriff and deputies are going to stay at campsite and secure it, we're heading back to base camp and then home. Buddy and I are fine, walk back with everyone else. Don't see or hear anything unusual the entire way back. Pack our shit and everybody goes home. Spend the next month talking about how weird that was. Some guys are convinced there was a drone and we stumbled across a drug deal gone bad or a government kidnapping. Others are 100% on board with the idea it was a UFO. I don't know what the hell to think. Sheriff traced truck and camper back to family from out of state, never found anybody and they were declared missing. 2 years later, still no trace of them. We still camp and train out there, but new policy is shoot any UFOs/drones on sight. No mysterious disappearances or unexplained lights since. Before my grandfather died, I convinced him to tell me a bunch of different stories about his time as an American soldier in Vietnam. Quite a few of them are paranormal/out of the ordinary, so I thought that I should share them with /x/. If you have any knowledge about the Vietnamese paranormal stuff, please share, as I have a limited understanding of the subject. Also, Wartime paranormal story thread, I guess. First, a little bit of context. Be my grandfather. Drafted, sent to Nam. Infantryman, private. On top of this, my grandfather is really short. Like 5 feet 4 inches short. Gets assigned as a tunnel rat. Disarm explosives and booby traps above ground. Fight through and destroy Viet Cong tunnels below ground. Well, fuck, may as well shoot me right now. Another guy in his platoon, half Hispanic, is short, not as short as him, but still short. His name is Daniel, and is assigned as a tunnel rat with my grandfather. Together they go on amazing subterranean adventures. JK, some of the shit they saw was, according to my grandfather, horrifying and mind-boggling. Story number 1. Sent to clear out and destroy the tunnels. Equipped with a shitty flashlight, bayonet, some explosives, and an old revolver because the M1911 were apparently shit for clearing out tunnels. Basic mission, they've done this a couple times before by now. Tunnels are pretty small, even for a rat tunnel. Not finding any traps or Viet Cong, the tunnels almost seem abandoned. Whatever, they stay on guard for booby traps or armed gooks lurking behind corners. Come to a larger section in the tunnels, they can stop crawling and go into a crouching / half-standing position. They can hear water running through the tunnel, start to think that they either are above a river, or that the tunnel just lead into a watery cavern. Daniel shines flashlight over to the other side of the room. Sees about 4 completely massive spiders. My grandfather says that they were longer than a foot, and each had a leg span of about 2 to 2.5 feet. 3 of them were bunched up right next to each other, one was resting about 3 feet away from the cluster. My grandfather hates spiders, he sits there paralyzed. Both of them sit there quietly, just staring at the spiders. This goes on for about 2 minutes. Grandfather takes his eyes off the cluster, looks towards the other one resting alone. It's not there. It's not there. My grandfather looks around, and sees the spider on his left, slowly but steadily advancing towards them. He screams, fires at the thing. Doesn't even seem to slow it down. He hauls ass back up the tunnel, with Daniel following close behind him. Daniel throws a grenade into the chamber as they are climbing back up through the tunnels. Make it out, screaming and yelling about spiders. Nothing follows them out, must have died from the grenade, or it just stopped pursuing them. My grandfather told me after the story that he is pretty sure that it wasn't even a Viet Cong tunnel they climbed into, but a tunnel that the spiders themselves made. Story number 2. This one is shorter. Once again, crawling underground to destroy a Viet Cong tunnel. Crouch walking through the tunnels, they find a not-so-hidden booby trap. It's one of those booby traps that would release a bunch of scorpions or snakes upon tripping it. Grandfather and Daniel stop to consider their options. Figure that they might be able to disarm the trap. How hard could it be? Pretty hard apparently. This one was very complex for some reason. Not sure how to disarm the trap without releasing poisonous death animals. They decide to just blow the fucker up, hope that the tunnel doesn't collapse. America.png. Back up a good bit, lob a grenade over in the general direction. Wait. Collateral damage. Trap is gone, continue forward. As they get to where the former trap was, they notice another tunnel, exposed by the grenade. Out of the new tunnel comes a 5-foot-long centipede, which barrels right past them and down deeper into the tunnel's fuck_this.jpg. Not wanting another incident like with the spiders, they plant their charges and haul ass out of the tunnel. They make it out of the tunnels, shaken, but no worse for wear. Pig related is the first thing Google gave me when I typed in Vietnam centipede. Sorry for slow typing, dealing with stuff in the real world on and off. Any run-ins with the rock apes? Story number 3. This one actually doesn't involve my grandfather directly, but is about some of the stories that he heard from other guys while over there. At the beginning of the war, my grandfather was talking to a bunch of guys from a different company. They tell him about how they saw a bunch of wild apes in the jungles. Bullshit, there are no apes in Vietnam. As the war goes on, more and more guys claim to have seen these apes. Oh fuck. They called them rock apes, as they threw rocks at the soldiers they encountered. Apparently they were coated in red hair, and were normally about 5 feet tall. Grandfather still isn't convinced. Thinks that they are either making shit up, or are mistaken. A bunch of guys get really defensive. Say that they were awoken in the middle of the night by screams and hollers, while being pelted by rocks. When they went out to investigate, they were ambushed by the things. Apparently the apes were extremely strong, and managed to kill 2 different soldiers. Still managed to fend them off. Grandfather still doesn't really believe the guy, which was odd because he saw a lot of weird shit too. Grandfather says that he also heard stories about giant snakes in the jungles. Keck, just posting a story on that. Oh god, that's frightening. Story number 4. About halfway through the war. Orders to clear out some tunnels. Start crawling through. Start faintly hearing voices. Either gooks or running water. Keep working their way through the tunnels. Voices get louder and louder. Oh fuck, this isn't water. Realize that they are probably really close to a room full of gooks. Decide to ambush them, then blow up the tunnels. Pull out their revolvers and rush further down into the caves. Fall into a spacious room. Large white eyes all around them. Fuck, that's a lot of gooks. Raising his flashlight, he notices they are not Viet Cong. According to my grandfather, they were about 3 to 4 feet tall, lanky, white, and had big eyes and ears. They were each wearing a bunch of different clothes, some obviously from looted corpses, others were basically just wearing rags. They make a hissing sound at him and Daniel, and start running deeper into the tunnels. Grandfather and Daniel are kind of awestruck, and don't know what to do. Daniel keeps going on about Latin American folklore involving gnomes and shit. They eventually just climb out and report the tunnels as being abandoned. Pick related is apparently a Latin American gnome. Just a few weird stories left. Story number 5. This one actually doesn't involve tunnels. Day off, grandfather and others resting. A few of the other soldiers go down to a nearby river to cool off. About 30 minutes later, one soldier comes back screaming about how something in the river attacked one of them. Oh shit. They grab their rifles and a first aid kit and run down to the river. 3 soldiers are on the bank of the river, one is bleeding profusely and the other 2 are administering basic first aid. Grandfather says that something tore his left leg completely off. They look in the river, which is now red from blood. They see a giant serpent/eel-like creature swimming around. Yellowish and a long fins on its side. Said it looked like a massive moray eel with fins. What the fuck is this thing? They fire on it, and it darts further down the river. They get the guy back to camp, but he dies of blood loss along the way. Story number 6. Grandfather and Daniel about to dive into some more tunnels. About to go in, when they hear a deafening roar come from the tunnel. Says it sounded like a fucking dragon. They are all stunned. Look at a nearby officer, who just kind of shrugs and tells them to go in. Geez, thanks asshole. This tunnel is apparently worse than most. Filled with giant ants and spiders. Fucking spiders. Anyways, grandfather continues to crawl through. The roaring gets more frequent the further they crawl down. Fuck this, not going to die today. They plant the charges right there, and haul ass out of the tunnel. As they are crawling back up, the tunnel starts shaking like mad. They hurry the fuck up, and get back to the surface. Everything up there is shaking too. They detonate the charges, destroying most of the tunnel. Roaring and shaking proceeds to stop. I might be a little longer on the next one. It's long, and probably the weirdest and most unbelievable of the bunch. Story number 7. Last paranormal story I have. Even I have a hard time believing this one at times, but my grandfather was almost certainly sincere when telling it. He was crying, and absolutely racked with grief. This one is also a two-parter. Near the end of the war. Once again, clearing out tunnels. No creepy crawlies thus far. Crawling through, they realize that this tunnel leads into a cave of some sort. They explore the cave for a bit. They are about to head back up, when they realize that there is a light coming from one of the passages in the cave, not either of their lights. Oh shit. They grasp their revolvers and walk through the passage. My grandfather says that they walked into a well-lit room filled with brightly colored plant life that they couldn't recognize. The light was coming from an orb on the ceiling of the cave. Vividly colored birds flying around everywhere. What the actual fuck is this place? Him and Daniel explore a little. Among other things, he finds spiky red fruit the size of a watermelon, and a bright yellow pool of water. Grandfather says it looked like he was in a fever dream. They head towards the back of the room. Find a stone altar. Blood is stained across the stone, and there is a couple of knives and other tools lying about stone. Their curiosity turns into dread. They turn around to get the hell out of there. Story number 7 can't. They stop. There are 5 reptilian-looking humanoids staring at them. Says they were about 5.5 feet tall, blackish green, and scaly. They all appear to be wearing robes of some sort. Without hesitating, my grandfather and Daniel fire upon the creatures. One goes down, another shrieks out in pain. The room gets extraordinarily bright, and my grandfather passes out. Grandfather wakes up, back in the main part of the cave. The passage him and Daniel went down is gone. Daniel is also lying next to him, but is barely breathing. My grandfather can only do so much for him down here, and drags Daniel out of the cave and back up through the tunnels. He gets back out, and hauls up Daniel. They grab him and send him off to get medical attention. After pulling Daniel out of the cave, grandfather remembers about what he saw in the cave. Says that his vision once again goes black, and that he can't even remember the next 2 days. According to the other guys in his platoon, my grandfather was in a state of shock. He apparently could barely speak, and stuttered a lot. Almost like he was shell-shocked or something. He was also sent to get medical attention. 2 days later, he mostly recovers. He goes back, asks the platoon about Daniel. Apparently he died shortly after being pulled out of the tunnels. Grandfather breaks down. Apparently the war was close to ending after that. He only delved into 2 more tunnels after that experience. He legitimately hated anything subterranean after that. He despised caving, insects and lizards, and even requested to be cremated so that he wouldn't be buried underground. I showed him a picture of a generic reptilian alien, pig-related, and he just about had a heart attack. He said that it just needed to be blacker, but that besides that it was pretty close. I don't have any more paranormal stories from my grandfather about the war. Feel free to share if you have your own. I swear to God I never believed in any of you guys here until I started reading these stories and suddenly made some connections. I swear to God this is all true. I live in Pennsylvania just outside the city of Reading. There's a lot of thick forests around here but nothing ridiculous, and it's mostly suburbs where I am. Farther out it's highways and farmland. Lucky for me I live right up at the edge of a small community at the very top of a hill. The forest is literally across the street from me. Anyway, somewhere around a year or 2 ago my dad and I were outside having a personal chat about some recent tough events going on in my house when suddenly we heard a weird sound in the forest across the road. We both stopped and looked over. One didn't think deer came out this late, I think I said. My dad just stared and looked kinda confused. Then suddenly we heard someone yell something like "Help, I'm bleeding." We both sat there staring into the woods where it came from. My dad stood up and said to get inside. We both rushed in and I watched him run upstairs to grab his handgun. My dad's a rough sorta guy and always heads for his gun if he thinks something's going down. Something was definitely fucking going down. I opened our back door again to our deck, it was a glass door, and peeked back out towards the forest to see if anyone would come sprinting out or something. Keep in mind we're at the edge of the suburbs and not exactly used to hearing people scream bloody murder in the middle of the night. Then I heard it. This loud, weird screech. It was like a cat or a woman, but it definitely wasn't human. It was weird, like it was high-pitched but not, and filled the entire neighborhood for a full 10 seconds before it suddenly went silent. I slammed the glass door shut and ran to the stairs just in time to see my dad stomping down in boots with his pistol. "Did you hear that?" I remember asking him. He just nodded and we both head out the front. By now a bunch of our neighbors were coming outside too. The scream was really fucking loud, but I didn't even expect all these people to come out this late. It was almost midnight. My dad went down to the street and looked up at the forest. Another guy came up to my dad and he had some kinda handgun too. I watched them start chatting for a bit until suddenly another one of those screams pierced the air again. It was horrible and made me feel sick to my stomach. It went on for something like another 10 seconds and just suddenly cut off. Like fucking idiots, my dad and this random neighbor guy decide to point their guns towards the forest and head in. I couldn't believe it. I mean, my dad is a hunter and he's been doing it since he was a kid. He's almost 40, but I'd be damned if I'd do something like that. They must have been in the forest for a good 20 minutes together, searching the darkness for God knows what. I sat outside with a bunch of neighbors that entire time, staring into the forest and waiting. Eventually they came back just fine. They stuck together the entire time according to my dad and thought they saw something like a tall guy in the forest at some point. When they tried to see if he was the one screaming, apparently he got on all fours and hauled ass into the forest. We all were pretty shaken up but parted ways and head back to our houses. That was pretty fucking weird and no police or anything ever checked it out, but eventually we all moved past it. A long while after that there was a separate incident that I didn't exactly connect to the first. Later that year I was sitting outside with my friend on my back porch. We were talking and having a grand old time dicking around when I saw my cat Jinx pawing at my glass window. "What a stupid cat," my friend said. I agreed with him and played with the cat, putting my finger on the window while he pawed at my finger wherever it went. That's not what's weird though. Later that night I was in my room playing a game with my window open. My cat was somewhere in the house, along with all our dogs, so I know he was fine. It's important to note that my neighborhood has a real problem with stray cats though. Anyway, I was sitting there playing some games with my window open when I heard what sounded like a cat meowing outside. I paused my game, wondering if Jinx had gotten outside, and went to my window to listen. I heard that meow again, but it was a long, deep one, that kind you hear from a cat when they're pissed and backed in a corner with their claws out. I recognized it wasn't my cat, but it was still coming from the woods behind my house, so I stared into them and tried to see where the stray was at and what it was getting so pissy at. The cat did that deep, long, angry meow again, and it sounded sorta close to my actual yard. I heard some shuffling in the woods and then something weird happened. I thought I could hear someone talking. Except it wasn't like a normal person's voice. It was like some mentally unstable person trying to mimic someone else really badly. It was something like "stupid cat." Immediately I got creeped out, but, seeing as how my window was on the second floor, I felt fairly safe to keep listening. Then I realized the voice was changing. "Stupid cat." It clicked. It sounded like something trying to sound like my friend but doing really, really badly. Then there was a serious scuffle. I heard twigs breaking and the cat just going apeshit. I mean, it was really screeching and meowing like it was fighting for life or death. Then there was this loud thumping sound. It was like something big and heavy smacking against something else solid. After that the meowing stopped completely and whatever was out there went dead silent. I was pretty creeped out by this point and I shut my window and had real trouble sleeping that night. Nothing's really happened since, aside from one incident where I was getting a drink late one night and thought I saw someone crouching really super low on my back porch and looking into my glass door. Like I saw light reflect off their eyes, like when you see an animal at night or something. The door was locked and it really freaked me right the fuck out and made me sprint to my room and wake up my dad, but he didn't find anyone or anything, and I've been assuming it was just me being scared from all these stories on /x/. Now that I've read all these stories, I'm freaking the fuck out. I've never seen one about something even remotely close to these things happening around my area, but now I'm freaking the fuck out. That shit was literally in my backyard. But yeah, that's all I got.